Preparing live stream. Is getting the Zoom open. We're just a couple of minutes late. I hope she jumps on once we are live. I think that she bought a ticket thinking that she has to do it from the YouTube. So maybe she's there.
PJ, how many people are you expecting?
Okay, we are live.
Boy.
So what I'm going to do.
Bad boy. Go sit down.
Let me mute mine. Okay, they just say that again, Minnie.
Oh, I just had a question for the group.
Okay, we are actually live now, so we can put everything in the chat. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us with the Fearless and Flourishing Women's Summit. My name is PJ. I'm a woman who was once silenced, but now I stand boldly in her truth. I am a holistic trauma-informed coach, an advocate, and a speaker, and the founder of this beautiful, incredible event with all of these beautiful, beautiful women. This event is not just a conference, it's a movement, a space for women from all walks of life can come together and share their voices, reclaim their power, and embrace the strength within them. And today is not just any day, you guys. It's International Women's Day, excuse me. It's a day to recognize and celebrate the power, resilience, and achievements of women all over the world. What better way to honor this day than to come together and share our stories, lift each other up, and step into our full strength. This summit isn't just another event, it is a space of transformation, a place where we can reclaim our voices, stand in our truth, and remind ourselves that no matter what we've come through, no matter what we've been through, no matter what we've had to deal with, we are fearless, we are flourishing, and we are unstoppable. So, what does that mean? What does it mean to be empowered? Empowered is more than just a concept, it's a way of life. It's about knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and refusing to let anyone define you. An empowered woman is one that has faced struggle but refuses to let it break her. She is a woman who has been knocked down but always finds a way to get back up. She is a woman that speaks, and she is a woman that breaks and shatters the silence. Even when her own voice shakes and trembles, she still allows her voice to be heard. So on International Women's Day, we celebrate this strength within each of us. We have the honor of being the women that are here now, and we have the honor of knowing about women who came before us, women standing beside us, and the generations that will follow us in our footsteps. But women empowerment isn't just about celebrating, it's about taking action. It's about deciding every single day to step into your power, into your space. And that is exactly what this summit is about. Why I started this summit. For a long time, I didn't even know I had a voice. I was silenced. I was overlooked. I was made to feel like I didn't matter, like my story didn't matter, that whatever anyone wanted to do to me, it was okay. And I just needed to be quiet. But deep down inside, I knew that wasn't my place. It was not meant to stay in there, it was meant to be shared. I walked a really painful road, and I know what it feels like to just be dismissed, like, whatever. I know what it feels like to question my worth and to wonder if I'd ever break free from the weight of my past. But I also know what it means to rise anyway. I felt like I was beneath everyone, but I still got up. I still fought. I still made a way to be resilient. And that is what it means to be empowered. So I created this summit because I know that I'm not alone. I know there are so many women who have fought in silence. I know that there are so many women who carry the pain in their hearts and women who question their own strength. So this place was built for you. It was a place built for you to remind you that your story is not over, that no matter where you've been, no matter what you've gone through, you have the power to reclaim your life, your voice, and your future. The Fearless and Flourishing Women's Summit is about us. It's about standing together, lifting each other up, and proving that we are stronger than anything that was ever meant to try to break us. So today I invite you all to be fully present, to open your hearts, to hear the stories, the wisdom, and the transformation that will happen in this space. This is your time, your moment. Take the time you need to get what you can, and to walk away stronger and bolder and more empowered than ever. And as we celebrate International Women's Day, let's make this more than just an event. Let's make this a commitment to ourselves, to each other, to the future of every woman who deserves to stand in her power. Welcome to the Fearless and Flourishing Women's Summit. Let's thrive and let's flourish together. But before we do go any further, before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the topics discussed during the Fearless and Flourish Summit may touch on some experiences related to trauma, resilience, and personal struggles. Some stories may include sensitive themes such as abuse, violence, or overcoming adversity. Your well-being is our priority first. And if at any point you need to step away, take a break, or practice self-care, please do so. Honor what you need in this space. You're not alone. You are in a community that supports and uplifts each other. If anything feels overwhelming, please seek support in the way that feels right for you. Let's move forward and create a place for with care, respect, and understanding for the healing journey that you are on. This is your story. So I just want to thank you all so much for being here today. And I first would like to introduce our speaker for the day. Our first speaker of the day, Miss Darla. She, I'm so sorry. This, her story may represent, a little bit of sensitive topics that may be triggering. So please take care of yourself and step away if needed. Okay, so Ms. Darla is a certified somatic informed coach, relationship expert, speaker, and podcaster with lived experience in overcoming narcissistic abuse. Her personal healing journey from trauma to toxic relationship ignited her passion for helping women reclaim their power and build fulfilling lives. Through the nervous system focused approach, Darla empowers her clients to process past trauma, build self-worth, and embrace strength. So I would I'm so honored and privileged to welcome Miss Darla to the stage. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. If you could unmute your mic, we are ready to hear your story.
Good morning, PJ. Are you able to see me? I'm having some computer issues and I'm on my phone. Are you able to see me on the screen?
I do not see. I see your high value women logo. It's very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Oh, thank you. But that's not what I want you to see. Shoot, I'm so sorry that we are having some technical issues here. Let me see if I can figure out how to put my screen back on. I'm so sorry.
No worries. No worries. I'm glad that you are
there
out.
we are.
There you are. There you are. So, Ms. Darla, I'm going to let you take the screen. Welcome to the Fearless and Flourishing, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you for letting me be here. Excuse me, guys, this is not how I plan to do it, but that's how it's going to turn out. So I just want to thank all of you for being here this morning and celebrating International Women's Day with all of us. I know there's going to be a great lineup of speakers over the next couple of days. So my name is Darla Rodella, and I'm a self-love coach, and I help women to fall in love with themselves so they can find their dream partner or attract their dream partner. And today I'm going to talk about how narcissistic abuse actually saved my life, rising from the shadows, my journey from trauma to transformation. And so to be quite honest, I never thought I would say that narcissistic abuse saved my life. At my lowest point, I felt lost, I felt broken, and I questioned everything about myself. Because in 2013, I found myself face down in my apartment, thinking how I was going to take my life and how I was going to do it right the first time. And I went from what people thought is that I had everything to feeling like I had nothing. And what I didn't realize, that all this pain and the betrayal that I had experienced, it was actually the catalyst for my deepest transformation. And it was in that moment of surrender when I realized if I took my life, that my abusive ex-husband, who was spreading rumors that I was crazy, would have fuel for his fire. And I wasn't going to be around to say I'm not crazy. I'm just hurting and I feel broken. So today, I just want to share with you how I went from that painful moment to taking back my power. I would like to say that this is a really special day for me, and the timing of this is amazing because tomorrow morning I am moving from Arizona to Colorado, and that is a whole taking my power back story. So I left Colorado 10 years ago because my ex-husband was stalking me, and I was afraid for both my mental and physical safety. And that danger hasn't changed. And I left in great amount of fear. And I decided a few weeks ago that now is the time, and I'm going back in my power. I am no longer going to let him control me in an indirect manner. I am no longer going to let him scare me away from the state that I love more than anything. So I'm super excited about that. But I want to talk about, first of all, how pain can be a catalyst for growth. Because when we experience trauma, we often think it's the end. We'll never get over that breakup. Is any of you, can you relate to that? You have this horrible breakup and you feel like, gosh, I'll never get over that. Or you get fired or lose a job, or you try a new project. But what it really is it's a stepping stone to something greater. As a child, I learned I could only depend on myself. I grew up in a very abusive home. My father was abusive in many ways, and my mother really neglected us. And so there was a part of me that knew I could depend on myself. And narcissistic abuse, it can destroy us to the core. It makes us question who we are. It makes us question what we deserve. After 10 years, I was a shell of what I once was. My ex controlled every aspect of my life. He told me what to wear, what colors to wear, what my hair should look like, what I was allowed to speak of and what I wasn't. And that day that he asked me for a divorce, I was so devastated. I cried for 24 hours straight and could not stop. But 2 days later, when he tried to retract it, that little girl rose up. Somewhere he tried to destroy her, but she was there somewhere hiding. And she said, absolutely not, I'm not staying. You don't want me here, I'm out. I had a whole other road to go on that I didn't know I was heading down. But that strength to say no was what saved my life. It doesn't define us, what happens to us. It actually shows how strong we can be when we overcome it. My experience of being manipulated and gaslit and abused on a daily basis really got me thinking, why did I tolerate that? Why was I even attracted to this person? And so then I had to really think about my past and how I didn't have good role models. I didn't have a good relationship with my father. My parents weren't in a good marriage. So first of all, I was in my comfort zone, even though it was dysfunctional. But I also was just following the patterns that I had been taught from generations. But that actually was the beginning of my transformation. So the second part to healing is we have to recognize our patterns. I found myself in toxic cycles my entire adult life because I had a void in me that I was trying to fill with men in my romantic relationships. I was trying to fill that void of the father-daughter relationship I didn't have. I sought out partners. But because my comfort zone was emotionally unavailable, they were either that or abusive. And every single relationship had that commonality in it. There was also something else, me. I was the common denominator. And so I really had to think about that. I had to do a lot of work. I've been in and out of therapy and counseling my entire life. And I really had to get in touch with what was the false narratives that was causing and driving my behavior and my decisions, because they were all rooted in my past, in my childhood wounds. I had been sent the message that I was too big, I was too much, my standards were too high, I needed to be small. And then as an adult, the narrative I taught myself, particularly as I get older, is all the good ones are taken. There's no one out there for me. They're all like my father. And I really had to do a lot of work and realize that those things my father told me, and he told me how I should feel, were not my truth. They were not. The very first step when we go through a transformation is really identifying what the problem is. If we have something wrong with our car and we go to the mechanic and we just drop it off, we don't give them any symptoms, we don't tell them potentially what could be wrong, they aren't able to troubleshoot. But if we just share a little of information of this is what's happening with the car, that gives them a starting point. Then they do the troubleshooting and then they figure out what the problem is and they fix it. And our personal growth really works the same way. We may not figure out everything, but we always want to start with these are the symptoms. Why am I experiencing that? And so the third part is our journey of healing is really not ignoring the past, but facing it head on, honoring it, sitting in that discomfort, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Before 2013 and 2012, I was living in Colorado, and it's famous for their Chinook winds, which are very high winds that come down the Front Range. And in February of 2012, we had winds of 95 miles per hour. And it brought down a power line. That started a wildfire on our property. And as I'm coming home from work and I rounded the corner and realized the property I was renting was on fire, I had a wake-up call. 2 to 3 years before that, we had rented this large house with a hot tub inside, 10 acres of land. And to the outside, it appeared we were living the good life. We entertained often. We had parties, poker parties, and all smiles, beautiful pictures on Facebook. But what other people didn't see is when that door shut and then the monster came back out and he was being abusive and we were fighting and we couldn't afford this house. When I thought it had burned to the ground before my eyes, the lightning bolt moment for me was I'm in the wrong direction. I am focused on things and not people. The only thing I really care about right now is at the time I still loved my husband. I was glad he made it out. And then my cat was trapped in the house and I was devastated on what she might be experiencing. The next morning, we were let back into the canyon and we found out the house actually did not burn down. What had happened is the fire crew got there in time to put a little fire retardant around the house in a circle. The flames stopped at that line, but rose taller than the house. And in the moment when I was standing on the road, I thought it had burned. After we were let back in, the only things I grieved that I would have lost were those mementos, those little gifts that my daughter made on Mother's Day in grade school, the pictures. Everything else was replaceable. They were things. And it was in that time of my life that people started to come into my life and introduce me to Wayne Dyer, to positive thinking. And I ended up a few months later going to a spiritual center. And that spiritual center was one of my main sources of support when I was going through my divorce the following year. I had to face my childhood wounds during my healing process. 20 years ago, I was codependent. So from the age of 16 to 45, I was never single a day in my life. I was either in a relationship, getting out of a relationship, or starting one. I went from one man to the other, no time in between. So I had the same experiences all the time. I had to face up to the fact that I was afraid of being alone, and I had to figure out why. I had boundaries, but not enough. And what I found is in abusive relationships, I was letting my boundaries down. By the end of my marriage, I had no boundaries. So I had to learn that no is a complete sentence. It's okay to say no, even if it upsets other people. A lesson I'm still learning today. And I had to have a lot of self-compassion for myself. I started putting breaks in between any of my relationships, time varying depending on how long that relationship was and how invested I was. But I also had to forgive myself for any choices I made in the past that didn't work for me. I made the best choice I could in the moment of who I was, and it's okay. I also found tools. I got trained in somatics, which is our nervous system and how our body stores and releases trauma, and became very much in touch with my emotions and how people made me feel in their presence and how my body reacted. So the next step was reframing my failures as lessons. All those relationships that ended, they weren't failures like I thought they were. They were actually an opportunity for change. That time I took in between, I wasn't responsible for the other person's behavior, but I did want to look at what was my part, right down to the last boyfriend that I just broke up with in November. Why did I find him attractive in the first place? Why didn't I see the red flags? And I had to say, and I'm asking you also, think about anything that has looked like a failure to you. What if they really weren't failures at all? Every heartbreak, every betrayal, and every painful lesson has shaped me. And it's helped me to be the woman that I've become today. I had to shift my mindset. The game changer for me is when I decided that this isn't happening to me. This is happening for me. My past is not something to regret. Each experience has been a stepping stone into the healing. And yes, I'm still having stepping stones every day. I'm still healing. It's an ongoing process. We can empower ourselves and create a purpose from our pain. The final and most important lesson for me is that my pain isn't pointless. This is why almost a year ago, I quit my job and started doing what I do. I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse. I'm almost 12 years out, but I will forever be healing. There are days I still hear his taunting voice in my head, and I'm in counseling again because some things came up. But that's okay, because what I've learned is valuable. And when I couldn't find a licensed therapist that understood narcissistic abuse in my current state, I decided, instead of complaining about the problem, was to create the answer. And so I started to coach other women because I understand why I got into the relationship. I understand why I stayed. And I understand that I was brainwashed to believe the things I believe, and I have to deprogram. And it's going to be a lifetime experience. So when we heal, we not only change our own lives, we have the opportunity to change others. You may not want to do a podcast or speak publicly about your experiences, but even if you just privately and quietly heal, people around you will notice. They may stay in your life, they may not, but maybe you're going to inspire that one friend who's been wanting a change or hasn't told you she's in an abusive relationship as well, and you inspire her. And your life is going to be so much better. Yes, it's painful. And I think the beginning part is the worst part because you have a lot to face. But every day I get better. I decided to turn my story into a mission so I can help other women rise above their shadows of abuse and reclaim their power. You know, I went to the Grand Canyon a few weeks ago and took a picture and posted it on my social media. And I talk about this a lot, the drip effect of narcissistic abuse. It's very insidious. You don't even see it happening. And I always compare it to the river and a rock and how a rock erodes over time, but you don't notice it on a daily basis. And I always use the 10-year time frame because that was the lifetime of my relationship. The rock will either be gone or eroded. And narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, manipulation works the very same way. And as I looked at the picture of the Grand Canyon, I realized this is a perfect example of how something that could be perceived as destructive. One drop of water created that canyon, one drop of water joining with another water, another drop. But look at how beautiful it ended up. And I'd like you to think about what in your life feels like destruction, that drop of water that's gutting you out, but it's going to end up being something more beautiful, like the Chinese vase that are repaired with gold. The most powerful thing you can do is to take that thing that tried to break you and make it your greatest accomplishment. So in closing, I'd like to stand here as living proof that no matter how deep your darkness is, you always have light on the other side. Even in those days, like I did in 2013, when I could not see the light, my higher power showed me the way when I surrendered. You are not broken. You are becoming. And if you're ready to reclaim your power, to rewrite your